All right, so again, thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight to talk a little bit about our new independent study program. We are very excited to be able to offer this program and have this available for our families for next year. We understand that there are some families who independent study just works better for, and maybe through this remote learning process that we've been doing over the last couple of months, some families have found that this has really worked well for their students and for their families, and they want to continue on with this type of model. Or for families who are not quite sure that they're ready to send their students back to school next year. We want to make sure that we have this option available for parents for that reason as well. So I'm going to go through a little bit about the program itself, and then try to answer a few questions that we've gotten recently, so that, you know, if one person has the question, I'm sure that there's a lot more people out there who have the same question. We've also recently updated our website, and we have an independent study page on the website, and the website for both of our schools. And we have a new FAQ on there that will also be able to answer some questions that we've been getting regularly from parents. So our independent study program, we're now enrolling students, and we have really worked hard. Our teachers have really worked hard to create a really good model since we have been out on remote learning, where students aren't just working independently, but instead they're able to work with other students, work with their teachers through Zoom lessons and interactions between students, having small group support sessions, still being able to participate in foreign language classes and PE classes online. And so we wanted to take that model that has been so successful over the last couple of months and build upon it, and then provide that to our families next year through our independent study program. So really highly interactive program, the same rigorous curriculum and instruction that's provided in our seat-based program. So using the same curriculum, the teachers teaching to the same level of rigor, teaching all of the same standards and really covering all of the same topics, and staying on pace with our seat-based programs, but in a virtual environment. And being able to provide all of those same opportunities for students to take world languages, PE, music, be involved in extra and co-curricular activities, really model the instruction around the theory of multiple intelligences, and really meeting students where they are able to succeed the best. Looking at the 5 C's, making sure that students are gaining those critical thinking skills, are able to be creative, gain communication skills. One of the big changes from our previous independent study model is that collaboration, where students are able to collaborate with other students in their classes through their Zoom sessions, and where students are getting those communication skills by communicating with their teacher as well and with other students, and then building character. And then parents need to be able to have access to all of their student materials, student lessons, assessments, all of that will be available through our Google Classroom and Aries platforms for parents. And really making sure that we have consistent communication between parents, students, and the teachers and the school, so that everyone's always on the same page, and students aren't feeling so sort of isolated, and parents aren't feeling so isolated, and more like they're really still part of the school community, but just interacting with the teachers and other students virtually. So again, we really want to be able to provide a high quality standards-based program. Students using the same curriculum. Students will be working both synchronously and asynchronously on activities, meaning that there will be those interactive Zoom lessons at specific times of the day where students will be in a classroom setting, just virtually online. So they'll be doing Zoom sessions for all of their core academic subjects where they're online with other students and the teacher, as well as small group or individualized Zoom sessions for extra support. If they're having trouble in certain areas or with specific topics, they'll be able to have those small group or individualized support sessions. And then access to different co-curricular and extracurricular activities, foreign languages, music, and other virtual clubs and things that are going on. Some things may be virtual next year for all students, just based off of the different models that we're looking at for reopening school. And so they may also be participating in some of the same activities that the rest of the students are participating in virtually. Or it may be in separate sessions just for our independent study students, depending on, again, what those models look like, as well as what the different activities are. But we really want to make sure that our independent study students are really integrated into the school community and all of the different things that are going on at the school, but just allowing them to do those activities and be integrated into those activities more virtually without having to come on campus in person, because again, we know that different families have different reasons for not wanting their students in our current in the current state of things, to not want their students having a lot of interaction with other students face to face. So it's very easy to apply for the independent study program. If you go to our website, we do have the application posted on the website. It just takes a couple of minutes to fill out. Once you fill out the application, you'll be contacted by one of our registrars. Probably in a week or two, we'll start contacting families. The registrars are right now just getting through the TK and Kinder seat-based enrollment from the lottery. Once they finish up with those enrollments, then they'll move on to the IS enrollments. So anybody who's already filled out that application will probably be hearing something in the next week or so as far as next steps. Spaces are going to be awarded on a first come, first served basis according to the availability in each grade level. We currently have 150 spaces available in TK through 8, and that's based on ed code. We're only, because we do have a seat-based program, we're only allowed to have about 10% capacity be independent studies. So between our two campuses, that 10% comes out to roughly 150 spaces. So that is what we have available for this year. Those who aren't initially awarded spaces, just like for our normal seat-based program, will be placed on a wait list and then will be awarded spaces as those become available. And this program is going to be a permanent program. And so I know we've gotten a lot of questions about whether if they have this option, or if someone chooses to apply for IS and be part of our IS program this year, if they will be able to be part of that program for the entire year as well as into next year. And that is correct. The program will be here for the long term, as long as we have family interest in it. And I think that now, with the high quality program that we have created since we've been out on remote learning, I think that we will continue to definitely have interest in the program and be able to keep the program going for the foreseeable future. So definitely next year and into the out years, we're going to continue to provide this program. So so don't worry about the program not being available and students losing those opportunities. So one of the biggest questions that we've had, and I see it up in the chat box, but I did make a slide for it because it's one of the biggest questions that we've had, is if you are currently enrolled in OPA's seat-based program, are you able to switch to the IS program? The IS program is open to all current and prospective families. However, because we can't hold seats based on our charter and based on dual enrollment in Ed Code, we can't hold seats in both programs. So if a student is in the regular seat-based program and they do choose to switch over to the independent study program, they will have to give up their spot in the seat-based program. And then if they choose to switch back, they will have to go, if their grade level is full and it's during the year, they will have to go back on the wait list. And if it's for the following year, they will have to go back through the lottery in order to be placed back in the seat-based program. So that's just kind of based on our charter and Ed Code. We really can't have students flip-flopping back and forth between the two programs. It really is sort of a one or the other with those two programs. And then if you're on the waiting list for the seat-based program, what happens if you apply for the independent study program? If you apply for the independent study program, you will be, if you make it in on that first come, first served basis, you can still remain on the waiting list for the seat-based program. However, again, if you switch to the seat-based program, your enrollment in the IS program will be terminated. And so you would have to go back on the IS waiting list if you were to switch back. So again, that just has to do with the fact that we can't hold spots in both programs open for one student. So I'm going to go through and so I think, yes, if we apply for IS, the spot in the seat-based program would be lost and you would have to go back on the wait list. If we participate in IS, well, we have the option to resume seat-based curriculum for the 21-22 school year. Yes, you do have that option, but again, you would have to go back on the lottery. You would have to apply for the lottery for that seat-based program for the following year. There are approximately 15 to 16 openings per grade level, but it also sort of depends on what the interest is in each grade level. So if we have some grade levels where only a small number of students apply for the program, then we could shift those seats to other grade levels where we have more people who have applied. So we would still say we had 8 people apply for 5th grade and we had 25 people apply for 4th grade. We may just enroll those 8 people or those 8 students in 5th grade, leave maybe a couple of seats open, but then shift some of those seats over to 4th grade where we have more interest in the program, because we do want to make sure and try to enroll as many families as we can in the program so that we can give this option to as many different families as possible. How does the program differ from the distance learning program our children are currently participating in? So we really did model it similar to the current distance learning program that students are participating in. One difference is that because this program would be a program that students are choosing to enroll in, they would not have the option of participating in some of the different aspects. They would have to participate in the entire program, including all of the core subject areas, as well as for middle school, they would have to participate in the foreign language program, and then all students would have to participate in the PE program, because of the ed code requirements around PE minutes. So as some of the parts of the distance learning program now are somewhat optional because of that quick switch over. If you were to enroll here, it would be a requirement to participate in the entire program. And you would be getting grades based on your participation and your mastery of the standards in the program. We wouldn't be assigning no grade for students who didn't participate. Those students who don't participate would possibly not receive a passing grade. And that just sort of has to do with the ed code requirements around voluntarily applying for an independent study program, and then the fact that we sort of had to switch everybody all of a sudden to an independent program or an independent study program mid-year this year. But most likely if we go to a virtual program for everyone next year, everyone will sort of fall under those same requirements. But some of the other differences is we're also looking at adding some more of that interaction between students and teachers. So adding additional time, additional Zoom meetings for the core academic subjects. So whereas now students are participating usually in around an hour, depending on their grade level, about an hour for each subject. It would most likely, the time for each subject would most likely be double that, especially for English, language arts, and math. We would be providing more of that face-to-face class time or Zoom time interaction for the core subjects for each student who's in the program. So more class time in this IS program than they're getting in the current distance learning program. Will there be a dedicated teacher per grade? Based off of the numbers, we will probably have a dedicated teacher that will cover 2 different grade levels. So a teacher, and also depending on the interest in each particular grade. So a teacher may be covering 1st and 2nd grade or 3rd and 4th grade, those 2 grades together, just because we don't have enough spaces to have a dedicated teacher for each grade. However, since it is going to be done virtually, all of the live classroom sessions will be per specific grade. So that ELA Zoom time would just be 3rd graders in that Zoom class for that specific time. So we wouldn't be mixing up the grade levels for each of those for their small group or their large group Zoom instruction, and they would have totally different instruction and curriculum. It's a little bit easier to do to have a teacher have 2 different grade levels virtually than it is on campus, where we'd have to mix the kids in the classroom. So most likely 1 teacher for 2 different grade levels. Is there a requirement to go into class a few times a week, or is it entirely virtual? We are making this program entirely virtual because a lot of our families are wanting to do this program because they want to make sure that the kids, for health reasons, are not having to go into the actual school site. So we are wanting to make sure that this program is entirely virtual, and that students are able to do everything from home. And then what are the residential requirements? I am guessing that means as far as where you live. Because we're a charter school, we can take students from anywhere in the county as part of the program. And so students would be able to enroll or would be able to apply for the program as long as they live in Orange County. We are trying to split it up between the 2 school sites, kind of based on where you live, sort of in the Capistrano district or in Saddleback or one of the districts to the north. But the program is actually taught by the same teachers. They're shared teachers between the 2 sites. So there really aren't any residency requirements for the program, other than that you live in the county. If I apply for IS right now, do I lose my seat-based spot when I apply for IS? So if you apply for IS, you don't necessarily lose your seat-based spot. However, when you actually enroll in the program, then you would lose your seat-based spot. So applying for the program, being on, and especially if that program fills up and you're just on the wait list, you don't actually lose your seat in either one of the programs until you actually enroll in the other program, because Ed Code just states that a student can't be dually enrolled in 2 schools or programs. So you can be on the waiting list or have just applied for the program and still remain in the other program. It's just as soon as you enroll in one, and then you will be disenrolled from the other program. What if a child gets COVID while in class and then the entire school returns to Zoom online? How does that affect the IS program? That actually wouldn't affect the IS program much at all. This program is a separate program. And so the IS program would continue the same way that it was before the rest of the school went completely virtual. The only thing that may change is that there might be more virtual opportunities with different virtual clubs or things like that IS students would be able to participate in. But other than that, it would remain pretty much the same. The IS program wouldn't really change. If my student is in IS, may they participate in on-campus activities where they resume like band, choir, science club dances? Students would be able to participate in extracurricular activities. They would not be able to participate in on-campus classes because those classes would already have met their capacity with the seat-based students, but any types of clubs or different activities, elementary band, which is a club, all of those different things, these students would be able to, the IS students would be able to participate in any of those things, the esports, anything that is an extracurricular activity would be available to our IS students. So this is just like any other, this is just like our seat-based program as far as the curriculum, the credits, things like that. So just like if you were moving from our seat-based program to another public school, your report cards, everything will look just the same as it does for our seat-based program. So it would transfer over to any other public school just the same way as our seat-based program does. Any idea if the seat-based program will return in person next year? That is definitely the question of the hour and day and week. We, at the board meeting last week, I presented several different options as to what school might look like next year, varying from 100% on campus to about 50% on campus, 30% on campus, and then fully virtual. And you all should have received, or any of our current families should have received a survey to fill out. We do not quite know because things are changing constantly, and the state still needs to waive some different things before we can set a plan in kind of get a better idea of our plan. But we're hoping that we will be returning at least to a hybrid model next year, where at least we're partially on campus next year. But again, it will all depend on kind of what happens over the next couple of weeks to maybe the next month and a half with the virus and the guidelines that come out from the health department for us to be able to say exactly what's going to happen as far as if we're going to be able to be 100% back on campus in person to start off the school year next year. And even with that, if things change throughout the school year, there are possibilities that we may have to go back to virtual learning during the school year as well, just depending on what happens with the virus. We always want to make sure that our students and our staff are safe and healthy. That's our main priority. So definitely we could, we have to take those things into consideration when we're trying to decide what that model is going to look like when we come back. Will students who want to switch from IS back to CPACE have priority on the wait list? Because of our charter, we aren't able to give students priority coming out of the IS program. So they would have to go back on the wait list with the same priority as a new student enrolling into the school. And due to COVID-19, why are we not maintaining current student count? We can't maintain the current student count and allow students to go back and forth between the independent study program and the regular seat-based program, because again, we can't have students dually enrolled. And also because of the budget constraints, there are quite a few there is quite a large budget cut that the governor proposed in his budget. And so we can't pay for staff for both of those programs unless we have students in the programs as well. We just aren't able to afford to keep staff for the independent study program employed without actually having students in that program. So we do need to have both of those. We do need to have students be in one or the other of those programs. And so we can't hold those seats. So how do we prove PE participation? One of the things that we are going to be doing is having PE just like we are doing now through Zoom. So teachers will hold part of those, part of the PE requirement will be done face-to-face interactively, and teachers will be able to tell through Zoom whether students are participating or not. And then some of that will be done independently, where students will do PE logs, or they may do other things. PE isn't all, if you look at the PE standards, it's not all just physical activity. It is, they do have health aspects and learning about sports and learning about teamwork and things like that. So, so there could also be, just like there is in our regular seat-based PE programs, some other more writing-based things that go along with PE, or researching different health or physical fitness information as well. So PE logs, more written and research work, as well as face-to-face Zoom PE lessons. Is remote learning the same as IS? So independent study and remote learning is more just the mode that we are using. So it could be kind of considered like virtual learning, remote learning, distance learning. And then our independent IS is more the program, our independent study program. So that's sort of what we're calling this program. And our independent study program is just, it's just sort of the name of the program, and it's done through remote learning or virtual learning. Do they wear school uniforms for IS? We aren't going to require students to wear the school uniforms at home while participating in the IS program. However, students are more than welcome to wear their uniforms while doing their interactive Zoom lessons and their small group lessons and things like that. But we won't be enforcing the uniforms for the IS students who are working at home. So for the typical amount of homework for your 7th grade students, if you go on to our remote learning page, you can pull up our remote learning plan. In there, it has the suggested amounts of work for each grade level that students will usually be required to do independent or homework. It really kind of depends on the grade level. For middle school, we usually will have the students, I think middle school, we have them doing an hour and a half to, I think it's about 90 minutes of homework in addition to the actual schoolwork that they would be working on during the day. So it would be similar to the regular remote learning program that we're doing now, and then sort of similar to the extra independent work that students would have to do if they were in a seat-based program, and then looking at the independent work that they do on top of that seat-based program. So for the regular public schools, they, again, wouldn't lose their seat necessarily in the regular public school until you actually enrolled in the program. So that goes along with that dual enrollment. You can't be enrolled in 2 different schools at once. So if you're coming in from a school outside of OPA, once you turned in your enrollment paperwork, our registrars would request your student's CUME record from your previous school, and at that time, your previous school would drop you from their program. So it wouldn't be until you were actually enrolled in the program and that records request went out to your previous school, or if you were to go in and disenroll from your previous school. Will there be groups or differentiation in the same grade? In those small groups, each student will have small group sessions once a week, or at least once a week with their teacher. And during those sessions, the teachers will usually group students who either need more enrichment, like our GATE or high achieving students, may be grouped together and given more enrichment activities. And then if there were students who were struggling on particular concepts or needed extra support, then those students may be grouped together so that they could get that extra support. And that way we're able to differentiate the curriculum through those small group lessons. It's worked out really well during our remote learning that we've been doing now, being able to really differentiate for individual student needs during those small group sessions. And so if you are in the IS program, you would automatically remain in the IS program for the next school year, just like those students in the seat-based program. So if you are in the IS program next year in 3rd grade, then you would automatically be provided a spot in the IS program the following year for 4th grade. You would not need to reapply or go back on the wait list or anything like that. So yeah, you would just continue on in the IS program for the following year, unless you chose to enroll in or to apply for the lottery for the seat-based program, and then if you were awarded a seat in the seat-based program, then you would be able to switch over to the seat-based program. Sorry, I'm trying to read through the questions. We are definitely looking at different interim programs, depending on what is the recommendations and guidelines from the state. So we are going to take all of that into consideration and try to make sure that we have the safest possible way for students to return back to school. And if it isn't safe for students to return back to school, then we would be looking at a virtual option for all students next year. We definitely, though, like I stated before, we can't hold seats in both programs open. So we can't have a program for some families to enter into an IS program and be able to switch back and forth. That is just, it's not it's not an option for us based on our charter as well as current ed code. We would love to be able to offer that flexibility. We just are not able to offer that flexibility right now. So we are, again, looking at the best possible options and making sure that we are taking the health and safety of our students and staff and putting that as the highest priority in making our decisions about returning to school. So then, will you offer Spanish as a foreign language in IS? So we currently have Spanish and Mandarin as our foreign language classes. And so students in the IS program would also be able to choose in middle school between those two foreign languages as an option for them when they are in IS as well. So so students would be able to be enrolled in Spanish or Mandarin. So if a student can't continue in IS after a certain period of time, again, you can transfer the IS your IS grades to any other public school. So so if you were to complete 4th grade in our IS program, and then you chose to go to a public school or enter our seat-based program, you would just take your report card, and as long as you mastered all of the standards or passed that grade level, then you'd be transferring into the next grade level. Same thing if you chose to switch to the seat-based program or switch to another public school mid-year. Then you would just take your report card with you showing that you have completed a certain amount of that grade level, and you would just enter in at the same in the same place at that new school. We are looking again at all different options as far as going back and reopening school next year. And if it appears that it's not going to be safe for students to enter school, then we would again look at a virtual option. But we really are trying to look at all of the guidelines from the state as well as from the CDC and our county healthcare officials, and then looking at what the CDE, the California Department of Education, is recommending, and what other schools in California and Southern California, what their different options are, and looking what is going to be the best option for our OPA families and for our school, but making sure that we're really we're trying to meet the needs of our families, provide a really quality education for our students, but make sure and keep everybody safe. Again, 100% virtual is an option, but we do want to make sure that we're providing the best possible option for our students. And for some students, the virtual learning isn't the best option. And so we're trying to provide as many different options for families as possible, but also make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. We do provide Chromebooks for all of our students. So if your student does not have their own Chromebook to use at home, whether you're part of our seat-based program or part of our virtual or our IS program, we will provide a Chromebook for your student to be able to take home. All of our students have access to Chromebooks right now. So if you're a current family If your student doesn't have a Chromebook, we've been passing them out all through remote learning. And we do have, or we will have Chromebooks to pass out as well for our IS students to make sure that everybody has access and is able to get online. So if your student is a student with special needs on an IEP, or if they're on a 504, you'll be working closely with our Scholar Academy team, and they will work with you and your student to make sure that students are receiving their services virtually, or if necessary, setting up times for them to if necessary, come on campus to receive some of those services. But we will provide all of those services that a student has in their IEP through the IS program, and try to make sure that we are, that we're making sure that they meet those goals and get any services that they require. You can apply for the IS program right now, anytime. It's been open since last Friday. And then as soon as our registrars get finished with enrolling our TK and Kinder students off of the lottery, then they're going to move to the IS program. You'll receive, if you have made it into one of those spots, you'll receive an email probably in the next week or so, giving you instructions on how to use our online enrollment program to enroll in the program. So, so if you have already turned in your application, again, you'll probably in the next week or so receive an email kind of telling you what the next steps are for enrollment. So for if we have to practice social distancing in the fall to reduce class sizes, most likely we will go to an alternate schedule that allows us to reduce class sizes. We can't really ask students to switch to the IS program. It does have to be voluntary, and we can't ask for students to switch to that. So, so we do have multiple scenarios that we're looking at in order to be able to enforce social distancing in the classroom, because that is one of the CDC guidelines right now for reopening schools is the 6 foot distance between students. And so we're looking at ways with alternate schedules to be able to meet those social distancing guidelines through hybrid programs, possibly having students in different groupings, some students coming to school Monday, Wednesday, some students going to school Tuesday, Thursday, and then working virtually on those other days, or doing AM/PM groupings similar to AM/PM kindergarten, where students would work virtually when they're not on the school campus. So, so we are definitely looking at those different programs for social distancing. I think I've already answered that one. Students don't receive priority for seat-based if they're in the IS program. That is per our charter. We only have very specific priorities for living within the district boundaries, or having siblings. So being in IS isn't one of those priorities. My email is on our website, but it is amy.kernan@oxfordchampions.com. We did have this program earlier, but it was a little bit different. Our IS program was a little bit different in the past. It was more of a homeschool program where students were sort of given packets, and they didn't have that those virtual Zoom classes. that was the sort of the model that we were using in the past. The COVID-19 did sort of force all schools to change the way that they did things. And the program that we switched to was extremely successful. And because we wanted to be able to provide options for families, and because the program was so successful, that's why we're sort of changing the old IS program that we had at our SOC campus into a more comprehensive program, and able to provide that for both of our campuses, because there is such an increased interest in the program. So again, for any student on a 504 plan or with an individualized education plan, our school staff would work with you and your student to make sure that all of those accommodations and services were put in place through the independent study program. So no, IS students, if the seat-based program ends up doing remote learning for the 2020-2021 school year, the IS students would not be placed in the same classes. Again, the IS program is a separate program with its own independent study teachers. And so they would still have those independent study teachers and be in there in together with other independent study students. And our seat-based program, even if it was 100% remote, would be still a separate program with separate classes. So we wouldn't be intermixing our IS students in the same classes as seat-based students. The only caveat to that is that if we are in a hybrid model or a fully virtual model, for PE and foreign language and our co-curriculars like music and things like that, we will most likely be mixing the IS students just because we only have a limited number of PE, music and foreign language teachers. And so if we were doing a hybrid program or a fully virtual program, those students, all of the students would likely be doing those virtual classes together and the small groupings together, so that we're able to really meet the students' needs and sort of level the students for those classes and provide that instruction. So if you are a seat-based student, we do have what's called short-term independent study. And that's if a student has some reason why they have to be out of school for a limited amount of time. So if it was for a short-term amount of time, then a student could go on short-term independent study for up to 6 weeks. So it is for a shorter period of time. So if there was some sort of health reason why a student needed to go on independent study just for a short period of time, between 5 days and 6 weeks, then they could go on short-term independent study. We do offer foreign language for elementary school students. We're kind of looking at that model depending on whether we are fully virtual or hybrid or back in school completely. But we offer different languages depending on what grade level students are in. And so we are sort of looking at those different programs and trying to figure out how to incorporate, because everything's sort of up in the air for next year as far as, what that model is going to look like going back. So we are kind of trying to figure out what that's going to look like for foreign language for elementary school. And that will be the same as for the IS students. But we are definitely having those foreign language, both Spanish and Mandarin, as a class for our middle school students. So, but we'll know a little bit more, hopefully soon, what that foreign language offering is going to look like for our elementary school students. So no, the IS program will be a little bit different again than it was before. Students won't be coming to campus for on-campus activities for the IS program. It will be all virtual, and instead of coming to class to meet with the teacher, they'll be doing Zoom lessons and being able to interact with other students through Zoom and be part of an actual class instead of just the one-on-one. And they'll also be part of a small group for small group instruction via Zoom, but it will be all virtual. So school breaks between, we are on a trimester calendar, and the calendar is actually posted on our website. So depending, all different school districts usually have different calendars, depending on when their start and end dates are and when their different holidays are. Our calendar is usually very similar to our two surrounding districts, Capo and Saddleback. So we usually have similar vacation schedule, but depending on what they have put their start and end dates, sometimes our trimesters are a week or so off, just depending on which school district you're comparing it to, but it is very similar, the breaks. So the IS program is offered on a first come, first served basis. So we do have put everyone on a waiting list based on when their application came in. So when you fill out your application, it does have a timestamp, and that's how we determine the first come, first serve. We can't give current OPA students priority for IS registration, just because we don't have that same reason we can't give current IAS students priority in the seat-based program, because we, as part of our charter, that's not one of the priorities that was agreed upon in our charter with our charter authorizers. There is, based on ed code, a maximum number of students allowed per teacher. So for the IS program, we do have a maximum of 25 students allowed per teacher, and that's not our cap. That's a cap from the state of California based on ed code. So again, you don't have to reapply. If you're part of the IS program this year, your student will just move into the IS program next year. So you wouldn't have to reapply year after year. So if you are on the waiting list for either program, once you enroll in that program, you can still stay on the wait list for the other program. You just can't be enrolled in both programs at one time. So if you're currently on the wait list for the seat-based program and you apply and are accepted into the IS program, you can remain on the wait list for the seat-based program and switch into the seat-based program if a seat becomes available. Likewise, if you are on the wait list for the IS program and you're currently in the seat-based program, you can remain on the wait list for the IS program. If a seat becomes available, then you would lose your seat-based spot and move into the IS program. But you can be enrolled in one program and stay on the wait list of the other program. You just can't be enrolled in both programs at the same time. So if COVID-19 is gone, this program will not stop. This is a permanent program that we're putting in place. So even if a vaccine becomes available or anything changes with COVID-19 or anything else, this program will still remain in place. So, so if you are enrolled, you can continue to be enrolled in the program for years to come. Expanding the seat-based program through 12th grade. We are always looking at possible expansion. We probably, in light of COVID and budget constraints and things like that, are not going to be able to do it immediately. But we always look for, possible ways to continue to serve our students. We are looking, so this question doesn't have to do with IS, but about cleaning and sanitizing. We are looking at a lot of different guidelines for cleaning and sanitizing the campus, making sure that not only the classrooms are cleaned and sanitized, but as also the common areas and restrooms and the office are constantly will be constantly cleaned and sanitized, or will be regularly cleaned and sanitized, just like the classrooms. The IS program does have the same vaccine requirements as the seat-based program. That is a California law. To be enrolled in a public school, your student does have to meet those vaccination requirements. IS students will be able to take part again in all of the different clubs and activities. If we're doing academic pentathlon or esports or any of those things, those would be available to our IS students. All of our students in IS and our regular seat-based program will receive the same curriculum. And so we do have a lot of online programs, but we also have a lot of textbook-based programs as well. So even though students are learning virtually, they will receive the same textbooks and things that students in the seat-based program have. So they'll receive a math workbook and a Wonders workbook and things like that they can work on at home, and they'll still have access to all of the virtual online materials as well. So the materials and the curriculum would be the same for our seat-based and our IS program. So hybrid means both seat-based and online. So a hybrid program would be one where students spend part of the time on campus and then do part of their instruction at home remotely. So if we were doing following the social distancing guidelines and only having 50% of our students on campus at a time, that would be considered a hybrid program, because they would be completing about 50% of their instruction on campus and then 50% of their instruction either through Zoom sessions, remote learning, independent practice, working on packets, things like that. So it would be a hybrid of online and seat-based. So for short-term IS, on an individual basis, if a student has some sort of health need, there may be the ability to extend the short-term IS, although it is a short-term IS, so we wouldn't be able to extend it through the year or for an extended period of time. So there is, again, no priority for students that are enrolled in one program to switch to the other. It's based on our charter. We don't have that as part of the program. So PE classes, we don't have we don't have a program to provide PE credits for students in professional sports. There are pretty strict requirements for independent study PE, and normally for elementary school, students would not qualify for independent study PE. So students do have to complete those PE minute requirements, whether they're in IS or in the regular seat-based program. I'll post today's presentation along with the recording on our website for anybody who wants to refer back to it. So there aren't 3 options, there's only 2 options, the seat-based program or the IS program. The reason that we were talking about hybrid model versus 100% on campus is because of COVID-19. When we do return back to school, it could look a little different based on the social distancing guidelines. So we do have the IS and the seat-based program, but the seat-based program could be more of a hybrid model just because of the restrictions that may be in place due to COVID-19. So I think I just answered the enroll in OPA program, seat-based versus IS. I think I just answered that one. So if you get approval for the IS program, we have not determined exactly what the deadline is to enroll, but we would give a couple of weeks for anybody to enroll. Once we send out that enrollment information, then we'll let you know when we'll need your answer. So yes, if you're on the wait list for the seat-based program and you also want to apply for the IS program, you can remain on the wait list for the seat-based program even once you enroll in the IS program. You just can't enroll in both programs at the same time. So if you want to be in the IS program and then you want to remain on the wait list for the seat-based program and kind of see how the IS program works, and if it's not working for your student and a spot opens up in the seat-based program, then you could take that spot in the seat-based program, but then you would lose your seat in the IS program. And if you wanted to switch back, you would have to go back on the wait list. As far as the seat-based program and cleaning and things like that, I'm gonna save that. We're going to be going over the entire plan, including health and safety measures, the different possible models for school reopening at our board meeting on June 25th. So if you want to have more information about the school reopening and what that's going to look like, I'll be doing a big presentation about that and about our plans on June 25th. So log into the board meeting then. We do live stream them, as well as invite anybody from the public to come in and join us for our board meetings. So we have a board meeting coming up on June 11th, as well again on June 25th. And we'll be going over some of the pieces to as far as reopening with the budget on June 11th, and then the big kind of major plans for how we're going to handle things, at least our proposed plans. Things do change and probably will change, but our proposed plans for reopening on June 25th. So please log in then.
Amy, I know that we're past the 6:30 hour, and I know there's been repetition, and you are going to post this on the IS website. Is that true?
Yes, I will post on the IS website, and I'll put a link on our front page of our website for everyone. So I think we actually got to pretty much the end of the questions. There was one more, how will this, since I just said something about the budget, how will this program impact the school budget? This program actually gives us extra revenue to make up for some of the losses that we have due to the cutbacks with the governor's proposed budget. So one of the things that this program does allow us to do is to get a little bit of additional revenue so that we can not only provide the option for families, but also make sure that we're able to fund all of our programs and things that we're providing at OPA for all of our families. The deadline for the IS application is ongoing, so you'll just be placed on the wait list if there are no spots available. So just like our post-lottery list for our seat-based program, it's ongoing throughout the year, and families can apply at any time. It's just based on seat availability. So I think, like Ms. Mark said, we're at about 6:40. So this, again, will be posted on the website. And we always do share information and feedback with our admin and our board, and any questions or anything from our community and our parents, we always take into consideration when making any of our plans. So I thank everybody for their feedback and for their questions and for their input. And we will definitely take all of this when we are making our plans for reopening, as well as continuing to adapt and evolve all of our programs, including our IS program. So thank you guys all for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the school chancellors, or you can email me, and we'll try to get all of your questions answered. But again, our application for our IS program is available on the website, oxfordpreparatoriacademy.com. And we look forward to seeing you all either virtually or in person next school year. Thank you guys so much.